What is the creepiest disappearance case that you know about? In about 1971, a lady in Boca Raton reported her daughter missing. Her boyfriend was also missing along with his van. At some point over the years she hired private detectives to look for the two. At one point she was told they were living in San Francisco. She was once told her daughter had a child. She never could understand why her daughter broke off contact and continued to look for her daughter. Along the streets in South Florida there are usually drainage canals that drain the Everglades to the ocean. Some are quite deep. In about 2000 they dredged a canal not far from her house and found the van. Daughter and boyfriend were both inside. All those years they were just down the street. At least she had closure. That private detective is a piece of shit. Brandon Lawson. He ran out of gas on the highway in the middle of the night and called his brother to come help him. Shortly after he called 911 and reported that someone had chased him into the woods and that he needed police. Eventually his brother and one police officer arrive at the scene and find his truck abandoned but no sign of Brandon. Brandon calls his brother and says he's bleeding and is 10 minutes away from his truck. That was the last anyone ever heard from him and searches of the area turned up empty. The Jameson family. The Jameson family, 2 adults, 1 young daughter, was interested in purchasing a plot of land in Oklahoma. They drive out in their pickup truck to check it out. Truck is later found abandoned. Minus $32. 000 cash found in truck. Along with the Jamisons' IDs, wallets, mobile phones, and a GPS. The family dog was also left in the truck and was extremely malnourished. A camera is discovered. The final picture was of their daughter, 6-year-old Madison, who looks somewhat distressed. Security footage is uncovered, with the family appearing trance-like and not speaking to one another. The Jamison skeletal remains are found years later, dumped less than 3 miles from where the pickup truck was originally discovered. Remains show no signs of struggle. The 43 missing students from M-registered San Zico. I mean, singles get lost all the time. But f***ing 43 people are hard to lose, you might think. General. The highway of terror's murders, disappearances. The fact that multiple serial killers may have been operating along the same desolate stretch of highway. BRRRRR. Specific. Dorothy Jean Scott. She received anonymous threatening calls for months before someone abducted her in a hospital parking lot. Her car was last seen by her friends, speeding away with the headlights on bright so that it was impossible to tell who was driving. Her family continued to receive taunting calls from her stalker for years afterward. Yet the man never stayed on the line long enough to be traced or identified. This thread makes me never want to go on a walk ever again. Or have kids. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. I can't wrap my head around how at the same time practically anything you do is monitored. The ocean is f***ing big. Ray Gricker. He was the Center County District Attorney in PA. In 2005 he went on a road trip never to return. His car and cell phone were found in a town between State College and Harrisburg. His laptop was found ruined by the Susquehanna River. No one knows what happened to him. Some speculate his disappearance is connected to the Penn State sexual abuse scandal, which came to light in 2011. A little late and this comment will probably get buried but worth a shot. In high school, my mom's best friend's brother went out across the water to an island in Anacortes, WA with 2 friends. One of the boys' parents lived on the water so they could hear the boys across the water on the island that wasn't too far away the entire night. All of a sudden they went silent and they were never seen again. No rowboat, no life jackets, and no bodies were ever found. They were presumed drowned, but what's bizarre is that the parents never heard screaming or distress from across the water. This actually happened locally to me. A woman went missing a few months ago from a neighboring town. She was a school teacher and unlike her to just up and go. Her husband tried saying she has done weird shit like that before. Then they find her car abandoned. Turns out she has filed a domestic violence claim against him before and tried to retract it. So we're all like, yeah. The husband killed her. A couple months go by. And more stuff about this Looney Tune is popping up. Sound of a gunshot picked up by neighbor's security camera. Sounds of them yelling and him barking like a dog. It was weird. Helicopters flew over the swampy area by my job looking for her body. Finally, a few weeks ago, he calls the cops, tells them where to find her, and hangs himself. Sure as shit they find her body right where he said. There's a podcast called Someone Knows Something and they investigate missing persons cold cases. The first season revolves around Adrien McNaughton who was 5 when he went missing. He was with his father and their friends fishing. Adrien wandered off and was never found. Season 2 follows a missing persons of Cheryl Shepard, who went missing in 1999 and her boyfriend is real shady. I haven't finished this season yet. I think season is more of an unsolved murder, rather than missing persons. I think. Riley Zickel. He was 21 and went missing in the Jefferson Wilderness area of Detroit, Oregon. He went on a day hike alone. His vehicle was found at the trailhead but he has never been located. I only know of the case because my husband and I went on a hike to the Stallman Point Fire Lookout and saw his missing poster. His vehicle was left sitting at the trailhead for months in case somehow he survived and made it to his car. So eerie knowing at any point we could have passed his body on the trail because it's literal cliffs, he could be anywhere on the mountain. My wife had a friend in the 80s who left her husband and 2 kids to join a cult. Nobody, not even her family, ever heard from her again. In Toronto, 5 men from the gay village are missing between now and 2010. Police haven't officially found anything linking them directly, but all of them frequented the village, and they share a common demographic. All of them were active on gay dating apps, and 3 of the men are the same ethnicity. Police suspect foul play but say there's no proof of a serial killer. But many beg to differ, including a UOF criminology professor who believes that these cases show historically classic red flags of a serial killer. What freaks me out is how they vanished completely in such a densely populated area. But it's also arguable that there's a problem with the way police are handling it. Still, I know someone who disappeared. Happy guy. No red flags. Nothing odd. Took a walk one day and never came back. No credit card activity. No phone activity. No social media. Nothing. Just vanished off the face of the earth less than a mile from his home. My girlfriend. She just disappeared without any prior signs of danger. I tried to ring her to no avail. And when I went round her flat, the neighbor told me she'd just taken off with only a small amount of possessions. I asked her friends but none of them have seen her either. Nor any of her parents. We called the police and they did the search but nothing came of it. She's still listed as a missing person. Johnny Gorsh. Honestly, any disappearance freaks me out though. It's so unnerving that people can just up and vanish without a trace. The hardest, for me, are the ones who we find out so many years later are still alive but they had to endure hell on earth. I'd rather be dead than have to go through so much torture. Especially for so long. Johnny's mother, Noreen Gorsh, maintains that Johnny Gorsh escaped from his captors and visited her in 1997. But now fears for his life and lives under an assumed identity. Gorsh's father, John, divorced from Noreen since 1993, has publicly stated that he was not sure whether or not such a visit actually occurred. Okay. Well, that's certainly freaky. I was working at Holloman AFB in New Mexico. I was working security forces. Our supervisor, TSGT, drove me and another airman to a vault out in rural New Mexico, still on AF land. They said guard this door and shoot anything that comes out. Weird, right? I do my shift. And 2 people relieve us. I know both of them from the dorms. The next day, I go out to relieve them. No one is there. And the vault's door is not locked, it locks from the outside. I call my supervisor. Multiple vehicles show up. I get pulled into a room and get out briefed. In short, I'm not allowed to tell the location of the equipment in, around, the vault. What time, date, act, what was in the bunker, what happened to my wingman. He never came back to the dorms. I never saw him again. The squadron commander, 05, never brought it up during any briefs. Usually when people cross-trained, transferred, it was made public and we had going away parties. If any airman died, we had an honor guard funeral. Nothing for these two that went missing. TLDR, shady US military being the shady. Will Byers. My self-esteem. I don't even remember when it disappeared. The Maura Murray case makes no sense to me. Only the fled to Canada to start a new life scenario isn't creepy. I'm sorry that I don't know any specifics about this case, not even the name of the person who disappeared. I once heard about a guy running out of a hospital. Like someone wanted to kill him in there. Then he proceeded to climb a fence and disappear in a nearby forest. I think he was screaming something about his ears that he couldn't hear anymore or something like that. The worst part is that this happened during the day. So he ran past several people. Definitely Asher degree. Something about the case just strikes me as so odd and unnerving. How and why does a 9-year-old leave their house in the early hours of the morning? Yeah. That's pretty bizarre. Asher Jaquilla degree. Asher was 9 years old at the time. In the year 2000. She packed her backpack with multiple sets of clothes the night before she went missing. Early in the morning. Sometime before 4 AM. Asher leaves her family home in North Carolina. Despite the heavy wind and rain outside. A passing motorist notices her walking alongside the highway and turns around. At this point, Asher is observed running into a wooded area. Her backpack is later unearthed from a construction site near where she entered the woods. Asher's body has never been found. I remember wanting to run away from home a lot as a child. Maybe from 7+ years old. Maybe she was lured by someone she knew, saying she could come live with them. Maybe she just decided to run away and was snatched by some random creep. I don't know which of those scenarios freak me out the most. My dad went to get milk. It's been 20 years. Well, they were eventually found after something like 6-7 months. But in Kentucky, a married couple went missing after going to a rental property they owned. Turns out, after not wanting to pay rent, the tenant murdered both of them and threw their bodies on the side of the road. It's not creepy per se, and it's not famous. But in September, my grandfather went missing in Silverdale, WA. They found his car 80 miles away in Nia Bay, which is essentially a rocky Indian reservation fishing town. No credit card activity. No phone usage. No money withdrawn. No prints on his car and his keys were locked in the car. Apparently, he had no mental health problems. No dementia. Alzheimer's. Nothing. He took care of my grandmother, who shows signs of all that. His body washed up a few weeks ago. But there's no indication what happened to him. They couldn't identify him without my dad being there. It just freaks me out that he just showed up dead and no one knows what happened. My grandmother didn't want anything else done. So he's now cremated. I don't think we'll ever find out why he was so far away. Donna's little sister in that 70s show. She was in one episode and then she wasn't seen again. Madeleine McCann, but I guess the parents just killed her. Don't know if they killed her. I think perhaps she had an accident while she and the twins were alone for all those hours. Either way, that poor little girl was failed by those meant to protect her, cherish her, raise her. Agatha Christie's disappearance. I believe around 2005-06 I was working up at Crater Lake National Park when we unfortunately had a kid go missing in the park. Ike. He was around 10 and maybe had some emotional issues. He apparently had an argument with his father and took off into the woods. His father searched for him and then got the rangers involved, who searched for him with no results. That night we had the first real snow of the year. At least a foot or two, I think. I don't know if he ever turned up. I don't recall ever hearing anything. That kind of stuff happens in parks all the time though. Those places are often giant, inhospitable wildernesses with small patches of civilization that give a false sense of security to too many people. The McStay family has always baffled me. A family of 4 last seen walking across the border to Mexico. At least, I think it was them. The camera wasn't very clear, but the father had his own company with a partner and there was no sign of them packing to move or leave. They told no one about going anywhere. Very odd. The business partner was arrested and is currently awaiting trial for their murders. I don't know about Creepiest, but one of the most pleasant disappearances to me was when a friend ordered a pizza with pineapple and when it showed up, there was no pineapple on it. I rejoiced and feasted. Someone stole a teenage girl's body from the morgue here in my city. They still don't know who or how they stole her body. I think they suspect her boyfriend. Makes you wonder what they are doing with her. There was this one guy who released a best-selling series known as Osiris Song of Ice and Fire. Out of nowhere he disappeared and he never got to finish the series. I wonder what happened to him. Hey, if people are into this kind of stuff, you should check out a YouTube series called Unsolved. They do a lot of true crime mysteries. It's made by BuzzFeed, I know. But the 2 guys are actually pretty funny. And it's well made and researched. Young men keep disappearing in the summer months around Boston and are ending up in the Charles River. Police deny there is a serial killer. I live in the middle of nowhere in the deep woods. As in everything is an hour's drive. Need to go to the store? Hour's drive. Hospital? Hour's drive. So there are a lot of unmarked, unpaved, unsettled dirt roads that go on for miles. And miles. And miles. I don't remember the guy's name. But he was in his mid-30s, I believe. He went down one of the dirt roads one night to go to a friend's party. But he never showed up. A few hours later his friend called someone to see where he was. And to go look for him. And they found his truck running. With his dog in the back. Radio playing. And lights on with the door open. It's been 4 years now. And still nobody has found a body. This happened not all that far from where I live too. Shout out to our unresolved mysteries. Sort by top all time for a time sink. That sub makes me afraid to leave my house. I think the investigation going on right now around my hometown. Millard allegedly killed Babcock and put her in an incinerator. Everyone knows he did it. But the body has not yet been discovered, as well as the bones they did find were from a deer they put in the incinerator. The evidence they do have, I personally believe won't incriminate him. But he had already been sentenced for a first-degree murder of another person, so at least he will stay in jail, I guess. That the judge refused to let the jury know they were already serving life sentences for the murder of Tim Bosma is appalling. The pair literally incinerated his corpse in the same damn machine as Laura Babcock. On Monday I bought one of those thin French pancakes with extra Nutella and whipped cream. As a treat to motivate myself on the first work day of the week. I left it on my desk and went to supplies to get staples. When I came back it was gone. That was definitely the creepiest disappearance I know about.